What do you really want to buy, but not sure if it's worth the money? An expensive camera. I've never been into photography, but I'm seeing more and more opportunities for the use of a camera while birding. Sometimes I get a quick glimpse of a bird, but not enough to get a positive id. I think that if I got a photo I could then attempt an id at home, at my leisure, with all my field guides available. But do I really want to drop $1,000 or more to add a few birds to my year list? Tattoo removal versus just getting it covered up. I work at a tattoo shop, so the cover up would be free, but I'd have to show my mentor the tattoo in question. A tramp stamp that says work hard play harder, and I know he'd never let me live it down. This is quite the predicament, lol. It comes down to how much your dignity is worth. Artwork. I don't know a lot about art, but a few months ago after lunch I started walking around the block and walked into an art gallery to kill time, and I fell in love with this painting. The thing is, it's $900 and I don't have that kind of money just sitting around and don't really want to use a credit card for it. That sounds like one of those things that you'll regret not getting later on. If you're still thinking about it months later, it had a pretty big impact on you. At the same time, $900 is a lot of money. Honestly, a house. I'm single, and I know it's a terrible market, and all my friends ever do on the weekend is talk about how they need to fix different parts of the house. My rent increased 17% this year, and I'd love to have a house to make it seem like the money isn't completely going to waste, but I don't want to spend my life thinking about ways to fix it up. I'm not even that handy of a person, so the result wouldn't be anything amazing, I'm sure. A stand mixer. I bake pizza dough and cookies enough to perhaps consider one, but not enough to justify $300 or whatever the most trusted brands cost. KitchenAid sells refurbished mixers. I have one that is 10 years old. I'll be using it to make pizza dough today. Just search KitchenAid refurbished mixer. Anything. I don't know what the problem is. I make a good living for myself and I am not burdened with debt, but anything outside of the basics needs in life I really ask myself if what I want is worth the money. It doesn't matter if it is a new vehicle or a spatula. I don't mind buying my wife something like an iPad, but I cannot buy it for myself. It is easier to spend in loved ones than in myself for some reason. An in-ground swimming pool. I know it's not worth it. The challenging geography where I live means even a small to medium pool would run close to $100,000. We would get nothing for it when we eventually sell the house. The people I know who have a pool either tolerate it barely or actively hate it. It is a blatant waste of money even for people who have more disposable income than we do. But if I don't want one. I choose our current house because it had one. I always wanted one as a kid. It was like a status symbol or something. It is a lot of work and money to upkeep, but we have enjoyed it a lot, especially with kiddos. A pain in my butt, but still love just having water around. Network attached storage. I am managing with external hard drives, but it seems really convenient. The only problem is the price. Having baked-in redundancy is probably worth it depending on what you're backing up. One of those under the desk treadmills. I think better when I'm on the move, but I'm not sure if the treadmill would have the same effect. Pair it with an adjustable motorized standing desk and it's fantastic when you're feeling restless. I had one for a while and would always set it to my phone call pacing speed to maximize my productivity, and it definitely worked. The Dyson Airwrap. I bought a cheaper knockoff off Amazon, and it's okay, but I get nowhere near the same results as everyone else who talks about it. I don't know if it's because I bought a cheap version or because it legitimately wouldn't work for me, but I have a hard time justifying $550 on a hair tool, even if it's multi-use. I got an Airwrap and got nowhere near the results everyone raves about. I bought it direct from Dyson, and if you don't like it you can return it within 35 days for a full refund. I was disappointed that it didn't work for me, but glad that I now know that and don't have to keep wondering. An expensive drafting table. Artist table. I am not an artist, but I am fooling myself into thinking it would make me more crafty. I will likely get a cheap version second-hand thrifted just to see if it'll actually make a difference, but man, the pricey one looks good sturdy. I had an awesome drafting table in my 20s. Huge, like 3x 5 feet or something. Springs for adjusting it could knock you on your butt if you take it apart wrong. My dad got it for me from an auction. $400. He won a lot of money in a craps game and thought I'd like it. I miss that table. A VR headset. There's only one game that I'm really interested in and I'm not sure how long it would actually keep my interest. I know I'd play the crap out of a headset for maybe 20 hours. Beyond that, I have my doubts considering that I know me. Just yesterday I went to a friend's house and played with his Quest 2. It was really intense to play Super Hut and Alex. I also went into a VR chat room and watched a monkey scream and run around everywhere. I felt in the Matrix wearing the thing. A metal detector. I spend a lot of time walking along the beach or through woods and think it would be cool to see if I can find anything. An e-bike. They're like $1,500 and I can afford one. And I think it would help me get out more as you can bike further faster. But I'm worried I'd use it a few times and then stop. If you asked yesterday I would have said Diagon Alley Lego set. Today it's my answer to what is not in your budget but you bought anyway and totally worth it. Enjoy the build. New clothes since I lost 20 pounds. I saved a lot of my clothes from when I weighed less, but none of them are office appropriate. Browse some thrift shops. I got some really nice dress shirts for work for $2 each at our local Hope Chest. A Sigma 30mm 1.4 Canon EF mount lens. I've been wanting it for years but that crap has been close to $700, local currency, for years now and hasn't gone down in price a single bit. But in general I struggle with wanting to make purchases for photography. I used to intern as a photojournalist, used to shoot a lot for school, but now it's just a hobby that I don't have much time for. I still am very into it though. A Vitamix blender. Thing is I know it's pretty worth it but I DK if it actually stays that good for as long as $400 should last for. Like will it still be worth it a year or two from now? I have personally seen ours last 5 to 10 years no problem. Just use a few drops of dish soap and warm water to clean it and keep the bearings lubricated. It is really awesome. Make smoothies and chew up anything you throw in. Also with the right blades you can make fresh flour for baking. 10/10. Everyone needs a Vitamix. An Apple Watch. I've had really bad luck with two Fitbits. The first started bootlooping forever 10 months after I got it, and the button on the second one completely stopped working 4 months after I got it. Hot tent for winter hiking. Will I go if I have it? Winter hiking is always tougher than summer hiking. Will I actually like it? Anything. The moment I think about buying something there is always that question of do I really need this? Then that causes me to reevaluate my entire life. A PS5. I'm a big gamer but since updating my PC I'm not too bothered about consoles. I was going to pick one up for exclusives but most of them are making their way to PC now with better graphics options. Even my PSVR is gathering dust after getting a Quest 2. Hold off until they're easier to find and there are more games imo. I have one and love it but I mostly play PS4 games with a few exceptions. Proper fitting over the shoulder pebble holders. Because even when you're small you still have to find custom fitting ones. A Dodge Viper. Seems like I can find one for around $20k, which is incredibly cheap for a Viper, but man, that's still $20k, but it remains a dream of mine to have one someday. While I love Vipers, they are death traps. Got to be careful. Doc Martens. They look so cool, but I'm a high school English teacher in my mid-30s with a very feminine sense of style. I'm not sure if I can pull them off, and to me that's a lot of money for shoes. I love my Docs. They are so versatile imo and my most worn shoes in my closet. You can go casual or dressy, summer or winter. If you take care of them they truly last forever, making it worth the price. A racing bike. Bicycle pedal for sport. Not particularly an expensive one, just in the range of $1.5 to $5k, but the current market is bought empty and current offers are super overpriced compared to what you normally would get. IRLY wanted one for a long time and due to having more time in the closer future it would be optimal to buy one now, but yet. An articulating bed frame. I wake up with a sore back every morning, but I also toss and turn all night. I don't know if having my feet and head raised would help or if I would just put myself in a really awkward position when I turn. PlayStation 5. Video games were my relief from PTSD from the military. They helped me cope as well as help me keep in contact with friends across the world. But at this point, video games just aren't my thing right now, I guess. And on top of that, prices have skyrocketed with stupid reasons behind it, so yeah. A 10.2-inch iPad I wanted so bad for digital art and budgeting using the app GoodNotes, but I have no clue if I should get the 256GB or 64GB since I have no knowledge of space on iPads. My personal code: get the best biggest one you can afford. I've spent way too much time upgrading from okay to good to better to best, and I wish I'd stuck it out with good until I could afford best. Propane furnace. It would greatly expand the scale of which I can melt metal over my current electric furnace, but I don't know if I really need it, but I really want it. PlayStation 5. I use my PS for daily still. There is no games for PS5 that make me wanna rush out and get one. And now Microsoft are monopolizing the gaming industry. I just can't see it as a viable option for now or the future. Panini press. Yeah, I make grilled cheese, but I don't know if it's often enough to justify it, especially because I'm a semi-struggling college student working part-time and making minimum wage. I'm debating splurging when I get my next financial aid refund though. A Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I'm not too fond but also not too annoyed by Joy-Cons, and I don't really need an extra one. But everyone online says it's a must buy basically if you play for longer. Those $60 for basically a remote though. One Switch player to another, it's totally worth the $60. A camper. I'd only use it if I got one with a bathroom, but by the time I consider the cost, the fuel, the campground fees, the storage, whether I'd tow my car or get a lighter one I could tow, I think maybe I'll just stick with hotels. The math will never work. You have to think of it as a toy and be okay with the cost. We have toyed with the idea for years and ultimately decided to stick with tent camping until we are too old. Insulin. I have to keep buying it, but it's expensive. But if I take it I won't die, and I'm tired of this life I did not ask for. I'm so sorry. I hope this will change in the near future. A hot hatch sports car. I love cars, and like restoring painting them for friends, but I can't commit to hundreds of dollars a month in payments when I own the car. A nugget I've already got. Because I didn't get it for Christmas back in the 80s, my grandparents got me a freaking sleeping bag. I'd like the Ghostbusters Firehouse playset. A new rug for my room. I'm recently single and wanna make my new room my own haven, but it's $200 for a rug. I just dunno. A MacBook Pro. I want to try out the Apple ecosystem. I have used Windows PC for my entire life and want to see what working with a Mac OS is like. I have used iPhone ever since I got my first smartphone back in middle school, which was the iPhone 4S. This is one of the reasons why I want to try using a Mac OS. I want to try out the Apple ecosystem. I was a hardcore Windows fan until I got a MacBook Pro at work. I am not a fan of Apple. I prefer Android over iPhone, but I am never going back to Windows. I didn't pay for it myself, but I would have if I had to. Worth mentioning, I work as a programmer. I put off getting a Manscaped for the longest time because of the price. I still don't know if it was worth it, but it's as good as advertised. Not worth it in my opinion. I basically paid $60 to cut my nutsack. You have to be super careful because the skin safe technology is bulls and it will grab your skin if you aren't careful. A dune buggy or Polaris RZRXP. Off-roading ATV. Normally it would be worth it, but I already have quads and dirt bikes, so I don't know how much use I would get out of it. A digital marketing certificate. I work in the industry but currently wondering if paying for one will help with future job prospects, especially since it's from a reputable company who offers the entire coursework online. An iPad. I feel it's rather a matter of perception than an actual need for its function. I know it's powerful though and should last years. I've had one for 8 years or some crap and it still works great, though it serves no purpose beyond my laptop since I stopped paying for the data plan riding public transit. A high-end electric bike. For commuting. I'm sick of spending hours in traffic, Stuck in some of the worst bottlenecking gridlock in the entire country, every single freaking day, just waiting on this BBB bill to pass that would help cut a lot of its cost to me. A gaming PC. On one hand there is more that you can do with one. On the other, a modern Xbox can play games pretty much as well as on PC. The difference is negligible at best anymore. This is true, but some games might never come to the console you own. Plus, owning a PC is great, especially if you build it yourself. Apple Watch. I love how they look, but mainly just want to keep up with my sleep schedule with it honestly. I wouldn't go for the expensive one since I won't be a heavy user. IDK. Garmin has wearables for like $150 that do a great job with sleep stats. Worth a look. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.